Yeah, the whole story shocks us. I mean, it just seems to get better and better as well.
There is so many good memories now. You know, when you have a bad time, the most instant thing, your first emotion is to remember the bad times. And I've got all that out of my system now.
I'm really proud of it. Like I was saying before, you know, we all wrote the album together, and to win an award for a song off this album feels much better than anything that's come before it.
I am now a free artist. I'm a free artist on Chrysalis. I have the final say. I push the button, whatever goes on.
Can we just say thanks for everybody's support in the last 5 years. You've been absolutely fantastic to us. But unfortunately, the rumours are true. How Deep Is Your Love is going to be our last single together, and The Greatest Hits is going to be our last album. And from today, there's no more.
So there you go.
Thank you.
We hope that the fans will understand that we feel we have done all we can do as Take That, and we do very much care for the welfare of the fans, and if there is any problems, I'm sure we can set up phone lines or whatever may be needed to sort that out.
In 1996, when the news broke that Take That were to disband, the fans of the band were disconsolate. Tears flowed and young hearts were broken. Only 10 years later, the band would be back, bigger and better than ever, performing to 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium. Those 10 years without Take That provided some consolation for the fans as they witnessed the spectacular rise and fall of Robbie Williams as a solo performer. This is the compelling story of the ups and downs of two parallel careers.
I think certainly in Britain we've always had this penchant for boy bands, and there'd been a big gap, I think. They just had that charm, about that earthy charm about them. You know, they weren't spectacularly talented, they didn't play instruments, but you know, when the cameras were rolling, they seemed to have a little spark, and you know, they made people laugh. And I suppose some people would say they were attractive guys, I don't know, but I think that's what it was. I think it was the cheeky northern nature of Take That.
I think Take That was so successful because they were just a group of such likeable lads. They were good looking, they had catchy, well-written pop tunes, and I think they were just a breath of fresh air.
Fame came very quickly for the 5 young men who formed Take That. Created by manager Nigel Martin Smith in 1990 to provide a British answer to New Kids on the Block.
At the time when Take That came out, it was sort of there'd been about a year between Take That getting their first hit and New Kids on the Block totally vanishing and dissolving. So there had to be a craving there from all the English, you know, the teen girls. They wanted another boy band. Nigel was also good at mentoring the whole school tour circuit. I think Take That were the first band to go around and, you know, sort of invade school assemblies and stuff, and just turn up and do like 3 songs and then go to another school, and that was the way they got to their teen audience, yeah, eventually. And you know, those kids at school were going to go out and buy the records, so it built up the hype, it stirred up a bit of a buzz, and you know, they bought records out, and then those kids that had seen them at school went and bought them.
I think there's an element of exploitation in any kind of manufactured band, because they didn't exist before him. He put them together. They were his band more than any of the other people. What happened subsequently is Gary Barlow came forward as a very strong songwriter, so they had a bit more a bit more control over where they went.
By 1994, the band had become radio and television stars across Europe and Asia. They appeared on thousands of magazine covers, TV talk shows and radio phone-ins, and were mass merchandised on all sorts of paraphernalia, from t-shirts to dolls. The band continued to develop a massive and highly dedicated female teenage following. Not surprisingly, the pressures of fame soon took their toll on the 5 young men. The unreal world of non-stop touring and publicity junkets exposed the band to the inevitable demons of drugs, booze, boredom, and egotistical excess. Despite the amazing success of Take That, Robbie Williams was increasingly frustrated that his own musical ideas were not being taken seriously by the group's management. This fueled a growing atmosphere of bitterness and alienation. In July 1995, Robbie Williams' sense of frustration gave way to an increasing pattern of drug abuse and aggression. The problem peaked with a near overdose the night before the group was scheduled to perform at the MTV Europe Music Awards. Robbie's increasingly belligerent behaviour and his habit of missing the band's rehearsals produced further internal conflict. The band finally confronted Robbie about his attitude, and he immediately agreed to quit. A period of legal wrangling followed, and it appeared as if Robbie was on his own out in the musical wilderness.
That was the mad thing for Rob, is that he was only 15 years old, and when his friends were going down the youth club, he was in the back of a transit van with the other 4, being, bunged out into gay clubs, doing all sorts of performances of their early material, and he lost a lot of his childhood. But he was only 15 when he started, just turning 16, but I mean, either way, it's still a young age to be out there doing that kind of thing. And he was the baby of the band and possibly not looked after as, he would have been if he'd just been living his proper childhood amongst his friends and his family.
Subsequently, after I saw him later on, once they achieved success at parties and things, he was quite troubled, which I mean, I was young at that time as well, so for me it's like, you've got everything you want, why aren't you happy? But I think he just struggled with the attention and the affection of other people, whether it was real or not. And that probably stems from his childhood as well. So yeah, it definitely had a big effect in later hang-ups, I'd say.
On the 13th of February 1996, the band called a press conference and formally announced that they were disbanding. It appeared that Take That needed Robbie more than Robbie needed Take That.
There is so many good memories now. When you have a bad time, the most instant thing, your first emotion is to remember the bad times. And I've got all that out of my system now, and I'm just remembering good times. And it's like, remember when we did that? Remember when we did that? What a laugh that was. And it's like, so it's just a mad buzz. I just want to see him again. I want to see Gary and Mark. I am now a free artist. I'm a free artist on Chrysalis. I'll be working with my manager, my record company. I'll be working as a team. I've got, I have the final say. I push the button, whatever goes on, from now on, because that's what I fought for.
After a short period of legal wrangles, Robbie Williams launched his solo career in 1996 by covering George Michael's Freedom.
Freedom was originally written and performed by George Michael, and it's quite a sort of a tongue-in-cheek song for Robbie to have chosen. It's quite sort of dancey, it's quite an uplifting song. It's not 100 miles away from the kind of sound that Take That had in any case, but it was a little bit spikier. Yeah, he made it a little bit rockier rather than poppier. So it was a sound that was still going to appeal to the Take That fans, because after all, this was Robbie from Take That. But also, it had that word freedom. It was all about being free from something, and I think for Robbie, you know, he felt that he was free from the chains of being in a boy band.
Well, I think that when he released that first solo single, Freedom, I think that sums up everything about Robbie, because he releases a song, Freedom, which is all about getting released from that, take that ball and chain, and, you know, the day-to-day regimentation of being in that boy band, but also cheekily taking a swipe at Gary Barlow, who at the time was being compared to George Michael and launching his own solo career, and then to do a George Michael song was fantastically cheeky and probably really, really pee Gary Barlow off. So I think all in all, it was a real top effort, and he really sung it like he meant it. He went out there, you could tell all those bitter thoughts of revenge were going through his head, and you know, so it worked on both levels perfectly. It kind of sums him up.
All throughout the promotional period of Life Through a Lens, which was his debut album, I think he's still having problems shaking off that boy band image. I mean, he was hanging around with Oasis and the Gallagher brothers. He was being photographed being quite drunk and, you know, with all his tattoos and everything. He was trying really hard, but at the same time, he was still being himself, but people couldn't see that he was being himself. And I think the big turning point for him was when he played Glastonbury Festival. And I think when he'd been booked on the bill, there had been a lot of, oh God, why is Robbie Williams playing? You know, it's a rock festival, you know, everybody in a field, why have they picked somebody from boy band? And I think there was this initial concern that he was going to get bottled off the stage. But of course, in the meantime, Angels was released, and I think that was the song that really turned it round for Robbie. He stopped being just somebody who'd been in a boy band, and he started to become a credible solo artist.
His debut album, Life Through a Lens, was released in September 1997. The best-known song from the album was, of course, Angels. It became a Robbie Williams anthem, and as a strong seller in the United Kingdom, caused sales of his album to skyrocket.
Well, that's the moment when it all changes for Robbie, really. This is when he becomes, you know, a huge, huge hit. That song, it won a Brit Award, didn't it, recently, for the best song of the past 25 years. And you could argue about that, you know, there's quite a few other songs, but it definitely hit a note with people. I think our society, we sort of struggle with spirituality. We're a secular world these days. Sorry, I'm going slightly off the point here. But I think that song sort of touched a nerve, brought home to people this kind of a sort of almost as spiritual as pop music can ever get, you know, that you're touched by greater forces than there are in the world.
Fantastic single, totally mature, wonderful lyrics, mean lots to everybody, musically brilliant as well, massive Christmas hit. Boom, brand new Robbie out there again.
Robbie and his writing partner Guy Chambers started work on the second solo album in Jamaica in early 1998. The first single, Millennium, soon became Robbie's first solo #1 single in the United Kingdom. Not surprisingly, when the next album, I've Been Expecting You, was released in late October 1998, it debuted at #1 in the UK Albums Chart. The album received even more attention outside the United Kingdom, leaving its mark in the European and Latin American markets.
Well, first of all, I think the title of the album, I've Been Expecting You, tells us a lot about Robbie. He knows all along that he's going to make it. He's got this belief that he's going to do it. It's only you, the other people, that doubt him. Well, now you're all on board, I've Been Expecting You. It's a great, great title.
No Regrets is a song that's got so many different elements of what makes up Robbie Williams. It's got these sort of very tongue-in-cheek lyrics. I mean, you cannot listen to that song without just smiling a little bit. And it does seem to be, you know, I've got no regrets leaving Take That. I've got no regrets going solo. I'm doing all right, thank you very much. But it's got some quite interesting elements. The addition of Neil Tennant from the Pet Shop Boys it's quite a strong influence on that. There are parts of No Regrets that do sound like some of the Pet Shop Boys things. You've got Neil's voice, he's got that very distinctive voice, and it works beautifully with Robbie's voice as well. You've got that slight difference in pitch, but it just sounds right. It just sounds just quite perfect.
Robbie somehow found time to start the work on what would be his third studio album, Sing When You're Winning. By this time, he'd fully discovered his artistic confidence. The album was big, bold, and brash. The first single taken from the album, Rock DJ, became an instant hit. The album was released in August 2000, and it too topped the charts all over the world.
Rock DJ was a bit of a break from all the ballads that Robbie was putting out. And it was a little bit rocky, not as rocky as the title would obviously imply, but it was something that was a little bit different. It was again one of these tongue-in-cheek, very Robbie sounds. And I think it was one of those to say, look, you know, I'm not turning into some sad old fart that's going to just play songs that your mum's going to listen to. I'm going to play songs that everybody wants to hear, and this is my offering to you. And I do believe that the song became a massive hit simply because of the video.
I don't remember at the time the video being, I know it was controversial, but obviously no doubt they had an edit which cuts off that slightly dodgy bit at the end, so it didn't scare all the little kids. But the song itself was just getting played everywhere. I should think Rock DJ, in terms of airplay, probably has many outings as Angel.
I think Sing When You're Winning was a good album, but I don't think it was quite as well received as I've been expecting you. And there was this very, very short gap between the Sing When You're Winning and the rather confusingly titled Swing When You're Winning.
After the success of his third album, Williams wanted to take another musical direction. He took 2 weeks off from his tour to record his fourth studio album. Born from his lifelong love for Frank Sinatra, this was Swing When You're Winning, the big band album he'd always dreamed of making.
Really sort of clever when he did that Rat Pack thing, because I think his dad probably had an influence on him there. You know, singing the old tunes that he'd grown up hearing his dad sing and perform around Stoke-on-Trent and stuff, and it was kind of a great tangent to go off at, because again that introduced him to a whole new audience, and there would have been people that are into the Rat Pack and the originals, you know, Frank Sinatra's and stuff, and really got into that Robbie album. I mean, I know people that got turned on to Robbie Williams or hadn't been until that Lively album all came out, because they were just incredible sellouts. Beautiful backdrop, and you know, and he got up there and he in his dinner suit, and he took the audience by storm in a totally different way than he did Nebworth. And that really showed off his versatility, and a really clever move that was.
Swing When You're Winning was a kind of a bizarre album. It was a kind of a tribute to the great American songwriters of the big musicals, and it was basically an album full of musical numbers, big songs, Cole Porter, that kind of stuff. But it was also, he'd done a lot of duets with quite well-known people. A lot of them were American actors. Now, the big thing with Robbie's career is he's always had this problem trying to break America. It does seem to be an issue with a lot of the bands and the artists that are quite big in the UK. It's like this real kind of barrier they can't seem to break. And I still think, call me cynical, but I still think that Swing When You're Winning was an effort to actually try and break America by doing these big show-stopping tunes, by getting people like Nicole Kidman and Rupert Everett to do duets with you. It's not something that you would automatically do, but I suspect that was the reason that it was done.
By 2002, Robbie Williams was a major superstar, and he signed a world record-breaking £80 million contract with EMI. The contract featured a number of unusual clauses, giving total creative control to the artist, along with a commitment to breaking Williams into the elusive US market. Robbie began working on what would be his 5th solo album, spending a year in the recording studio. The Escapology album heralded a new era for Williams. He'd taken a more active role in the making of this album. Robbie began writing his own songs, and soon afterwards, it was officially confirmed that the hugely successful partnership between Robbie and Guy Chambers was to be dissolved. After touring Latin America in late 2004, Robbie started working on his 6th studio album. Recorded in his bedroom in the Hollywood Hills, the album was co-written by Stephen Duffy and took 24 months to complete. Judging by his track record of unbroken success, to the outside world, it seemed Robbie could do no wrong. However, behind the scenes, nothing could be further from the truth. By 2006, Robbie Williams was living an increasingly out-of-control hedonistic lifestyle. He was battling with the familiar demons of drink and drugs. His lifestyle was affecting his creativity, and he was about to receive a sudden wake-up call. The 7th Robbie Williams studio album, Rude Box, was ominously rumoured to be a dance electro album. As soon as the single appeared, a critical backlash erupted. The Sun dubbed the song the worst song ever recorded. The change of direction was hugely unpopular, and the album is Robbie's poorest seller and has sold less than 500,000 copies in the United Kingdom. The follow-up album to Rude Box was Reality Killed the Video Star. Although the material returned to familiar territory, it too performed poorly, and to many fans, it seemed as if Robbie's star had finally waned. Just at the time when Robbie's fortunes were on the verge of decline, on the 25th of November 2005, there was an official press conference by Take That, announcing that the post-Robbie Williams lineup were to tour again in 2006.
Well, I cannot tell you how excited I am, because here we are in Wembley Stadium, where in just a couple of hours' time, Take That will be on the stage behind me for the first leg of the Wembley stage of their circus tour. They're playing to 20 stadiums across the country to over 1 million people, and I'm delighted to tell you that the boys join me now.
That was a hell of a build-up. I was loving that then. It's a shame you cut it short to speak to us. Great build-up.
You deserve a good build-up.
Just want to get one thing established here. This floor is on a slope. I'm not the shortest member of the band. Mark's not the tallest member of the band.
We believe you,
And
we believe you.
Howard's not a real-life giant either.
But look at it, it is looking absolutely unbelievable
Do you know
in
what?
here.
Isn't Wembley a fantastic venue, though? I mean,
There's something special, isn't
well,
there?
last night we came in for sound check last night, and we all walked out and we just looked up, and it's just like fantastic. This is it, the road to Wembley.
I think undoubtedly Take That were more successful as a group than they were individually. I know Gary had a few or a couple of singles initially that did all right in the charts, but after that he went back to being a songwriter himself, and I think he had a number of hits with groups like Blue, where he wrote the songs, they performed them and sang them.
He's given Donny Osmond his biggest hit in 30 years. He's wrote for Delta Goodrum, Blue, Charlotte Church. And this time round, with his fame with Take That 2, should we call it, he decided that he was going to use his fame for good, for charity, and he's raised millions. You know, he's organised the Kilimanjaro climb, Children in Need Rocks. On his 10th wedding anniversary to his wife, the money raised went to Bernardo's. So he's doing good with his fame, but he has always had an incredible talent.
Gary, I hear that you're kind of the leader of the pack.
Well,
how did this all come together?
Initially I was, because I just thought, you know, especially with credit crunch around this year, I thought, you know, if there's one place that's going to suffer, it's going to be charities. So we started talking about this sort of halfway through last year. Thought I'll make some phone calls, see if we can get together. And I think basically I started at the top and worked down my list, and I think everyone I've asked is here today.
Yeah, they've got
all at the bottom of the list.
No, top of the list, everybody.
And I could just see that the other band members
Mark and Jason and Howard sort of phoning him up all the time, showing up outside his house with like ripped clothes and torn jeans and going, Gary, we need to do some more work, we're skint. And he was probably fed up and just lending them £5 here and £10 there. So they got together.
It all stemmed from the documentary that came out, you know, about Take That's reunion and the four guys getting back together. And it was quite clear from that documentary that, you know, Robbie wasn't as interested in the reunion as much as the rest of the guys were. And what you have to remember back then, it's hard to imagine now, you know, a few years later when Take That become massively successful, is they were very passé at the time. You know, people weren't lovers of Take That's music. They weren't seen as, you know, one of the great British bands. They were still seen as, you know, a boy band that, you know, had a few songs out and were very much for teenage girls.
I also think that the timing was correct for them to get back, because they'd left it long enough for them to kind of settle down, and it wasn't too, you know, they still had their fan base, and also Robbie Williams was off the scene at that point in time. He wasn't in the public headline, so there wouldn't be that conflict between him and them and the sort of arguments and the comparisons that you might get. So I think the timing was actually spot on. Ultimate Tour, they announced that they did this press conference and they had the four of them there and they said we're getting back together, and everyone thought, oh, what's it going to be? And they said they were just going to tour and it was just going to be their greatest hits, and everyone was thinking, well, what are they going to be like? Are they just going to be these fat, overweight, old guys doing the tour? Which is actually a really weird thing to say and discuss.
In 2006, the Ultimate Tour, which you know, featured Lulu and Beverly Knight. Looking back now, that was supposed to be, you know, just a one-off tour, and I think it caused such a sensation with the fans who, you know, hadn't seen Take That for 10 years and were still never thought they'd get back together, that it was just, you know, a media scramble for tickets. They sold 275,000 tickets, you know, in just a few hours. It was a majorly successful tour and quite unimaginable, I think, you know, to even the guys at the time and the record label, because they still didn't have, at that point, you know, a major record deal.
The Ultimate Tour without Robbie that took place in 2006 was a huge success. 275,000 tickets sold out within 3 hours, leaving the promoters to put more dates on with more arena tours. So it was a fantastic success.
History records that the tour was a huge success and a Take That comeback album followed. It too was a massive smash hit, and Beautiful World entered the UK album chart at #1.
It seems that Take That, they got back together, the four of them got back together, they did their tour, and they signed up with this big sort of contract with Polydor. They each must have got a stack of money from it, which must have suited them down to the ground. I would imagine Mark was able to give up his job as a taxi driver, which is what he was doing in the late 90s, I can only guess.
When Take That signed with Polydor in 2006, it seemed like a really natural progression for the group. But if you look back to somewhere like, you know, 2004, it would have been quite unheard of that you'd even think, you know, Take That could get a record deal. Gary hadn't released a single for years. Mark's solo stuff was struggling. Howard and, you know, Jason were doing their things separately. But Take That weren't seen as this gigantic group. So to get a record deal at that point would have been quite hard. But 2006, they just had a sold-out tour. Their single and their greatest hits had sold, you know, probably 10 times what any record label thought. So they were in a great position at this point to sign a deal, and they'd signed a £3 million contract with Polydor, and, you know, the rest is history.
The Beautiful World album, their first sort of studio comeback album, was a phenomenal success. It was the second best-selling album in 2006, achieved in only a month of sales. It was the fourth best in 2007. It's 8 times platinum in the UK. I don't think you could ask for better for a comeback album.
Could you have imagined you'd have had such success second time round?
It's unbelievable. We're blown away. We really are. And it's going to be a great night for us tonight. We've worked hard this year for 5 months making this album. We really hope everyone enjoys it, and we're going to have a celebration tonight.
And everyone wondered what it was going to be like. Did they really need to do it? What was the music going to be? Music had moved on since, you know, the last albums that they did in the 90s. And a lot of people are saying it's actually one of the best albums they've done. They had some great songs on there. What was unbelievable was how well it sold, and you didn't realise that at the time. It kind of, people go, oh, it was sort of one of the 30th or 40th best-selling British albums. You're like, really? That one? Not that it was not that good, but that's just like a huge accolade. And I think it really did mark their sort of comeback. It was sort of the icing on the cake, if you like. Yeah, they can do a tour. Anyone can get back together and do a tour. But to put a successful album together, especially now when it's all downloads and things like that, and selling albums is a lot more difficult, it was actually really impressive.
And what happens with a lot of bands when they release a comeback album, it's very hard to gauge between sounding the same as the old stuff, because, you know, that's what the fans want in many ways. But in other ways, they have to move on and they have to appeal, you know, to a bigger market. And what Take That album did, when it first came out, very much a fan album. As the singles started getting played on radio more, people realised, you know, this is actually, you know, a fantastic album. It's got great songs on it. And it started appealing to people across all different age ranges. And you can see that, you know, by the millions of sales that it had, that it went way beyond their own fan base. And they picked up a whole new generation of fans, which is very, very rare for, you know, any band making a comeback, especially after 10 years.
The comeback single Patience also hit #1, making it the group's 9th #1.
One of the biggest hits they had in the comeback was Patience. And I just remember sort of hearing it on the radio all the time. It was really well played. It was a really, really good song, and people would be sat on the bus with their headphones and all you can hear is like tss, 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 and they're sort of muttering away, kind of, oh, a little patience, just as if they've got to go and see a doctor or something like that. It was a really, really good song. It was a really nice ballad, actually. Possibly the best song that they'd put together.
So Take That's Patience was released in 2006, and there was a lot of expectation behind it, but when you look back now at when it actually came out, it was quite widely ignored, especially by, you know, mainstream radio. Radio 1 were quite slow to A-list it. It went into the charts at #4, which is probably on the back of, you know, all the Take That fans going and buying the physical, you know, buying the digital still, getting really behind it. But what, you know, took everyone by surprise was it stuck around in the charts. It stuck around in the top 10 for a long time, and it eventually went to #1. And as it went to #1, Radio 1 started putting on the C list, then the B list, and then something happened that would never even happen, you know, in '95 when they were massive. They were on the Radio 1 A list. And the great thing about the song Patience is it fits with any radio station. You can hear that on Smooth FM, you can hear it, you know, on your commercial radio. And, you know, it's quite a cool sounding song, which is you don't expect from Take That. And what else happened, you know, the same with the album. People heard the song, had never even heard of Take That, you know, and loved the song. So it was the perfect song, I think, at that time.
So how does it feel to have won this award?
I'm really proud of it. Like I was saying before, you know, we all wrote the album together, and to win an award for a song off this album feels much better than everything that's come before it.
Yeah, I mean, I've won Ivors last time round, and they were special, but I don't know, every single bit of this time we've come back, every single bit's so much better. It feels so much more rewarding. Stop, look, he always picks hairs off me. Ow.
How many did you win?
4.
4 Ivors?
This is the 5th.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it? I only thought you won one.
Yeah. See, you need to do your research.
Patience really did Take That back on the #1 spot. It's first came in at #4. The second week it was #1. It stayed there for 4 weeks. It was a top 10 for 11 weeks, and it gave the guys another Brit Award.
So what about the future? Are you aiming for more Ivors? You can do another?
Next year's the big year. You think this is good? Wait for next year.
That's confidence, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Multiple nominations next year.
Yeah.
And are there any other particular accolades you'd really like to win?
This is a great one, though. I mean, we're British, and between this and the Brits, these are the awards you want to win. This is the top here. So yeah, there's only one way down. Panto next year.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Maybe the year after.
Yeah.
We'll get away next year.
Yeah.
Probably just going to shake and tell them that I love them so much.
They're the best band.
And that I'd leave my husband for them any day.
Typical Take That fans are me, the 30-somethings, those that listened to them the first time round, and now that we're a bit older and got the jobs and the houses and the mortgages and everything else, they remind us of those good old times and those great tunes that actually mean something to us. The lyrics we understand and they matter. And so yeah, it's people like me in the 30s.
Take That fans, certainly in the 90s, were young girls and gay men. Now, on their comeback, it's the same people, so it's housewives and slightly older gay men.
With Take That firmly back on the map, Circus was the follow-up studio album. And again, the lead single, Greatest Day, also debuted at #1.
You know what, we always like to mark the occasion with a big party, and we thought, why not Paris? It's only a couple of hours away on the train. Really looking forward to it. We've all worked hard this year writing and making this album.
The big thing that they did was the album The Circus, and it coincided with a tour as well. And the tour was like a huge thing. It was songs from their album, and it was like a massive dramatical show. And a lot of bands put together these big dramatical shows, and it's theatre for theatre's sake, but this one was absolutely huge, and in fact it was the cherry on the icing on the cake, if you like, because it was an absolute sellout. And you can just sort of imagine at that time sort of Robbie Williams kind of just in his padded cell with a straight jacket going, oh, I used to be in Take That, that could have been me. And people have forgotten that he was put to do with Take That, and he was sort of going up to people and saying, yeah, I used to be in Take That. And they're going, were you? Really? That's amazing. Shut up.
Guys, first of all, congratulations on the #1 single. Bit of a feat beating Beyonce.
Beating her. No, she's had #1. She had #1 last week, so it's our turn now.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you about the title of this circus. Where did that come from?
Mark's idea. You better ask Mark. No, we just thought it was in fitting with where we're at the moment, actually. And we do these big tours, these big concerts where we try and bring in a lot of theatrics and big, production kind of things. And we thought also it might reflect the circus lifestyle sometimes of being in Take That, day to day. And also society at the moment seems very chaotic and could be described as circus-like. So without getting too profound with it, we just thought it was...
That's the deep meaning, but the real reason is there's a song on the album called The Circus.
Oh yeah, so that sounds good. Or Mark thought that sounds good.
The album The Circus, again, was the most pre-ordered album of all time. Spurned the guys lots of #1s, to include Greatest Day, which also was a #1. It's unprecedented the way it sold. Literally, within the space of 4 days, I think they'd sold a few million copies.
And are you really proud of this album?
Very, very proud. Yeah, we had a great summer making this record. We had a lot of writing, and we did a lot of recording, and it's just been really good fun. It's not been a pressure at all, and today is Judgment Day, I guess. All our fans are going to hear it today, and it's going to be interesting to see the response.
Okay, well, good luck. We've got to let you go on
Thank
this
you.
road.
Thank you.
I read that you could have sold out Wembley Stadium 10 times over if you wanted to do that. How
Yeah,
does
we
that
said
make
that.
you feel? Yeah, but I also, it was backed up as well.
Oh, was you?
Yeah.
Well, we are doing 4 nights at Wembley Stadium next year, but also we're playing all over the country, and we're delighted by the response, by the amount of tickets that have been sold, and I think just in return now we're going to give everybody the show of a lifetime.
Tickets for the Circus Tour went on sale on the 31st of October 2008. It became the fastest selling in UK history. Take That ended their triumphal tour at the famous Wembley Stadium in London on the 5th of July 2009. over 80,000 people attended this landmark event.
Can we just say right away that the audiences we've had on this tour have been off the scale, haven't they? They've been brilliant. Every single night, we've had rain on a couple of nights, not bothered. Brilliant crowds everywhere.
I hope they're drinking lots of water today, because you could get dehydrated.
Good health tips there, I like that. Now, for all those poor people like me who tried to phone, couldn't get tickets, come on then, tell us, what are we missing this evening?
Do you want some tickets?
I do want some tickets.
Are
you offering?
He's got good seats.
Tickets if you want. Yeah.
He has the best seats, he does.
He's a ticket master. Yeah.
Oh,
They just
my
have to
work
become
here
a
is done.
presenter and get into the stadium, and then it's all done, innit? Job done. Well, I don't know. We're trying, I suppose, just give a great night. It's very entertaining. You know, you can see the circus tent there and the balloon. And
Yeah, there's an amazing balloon over there.
try and give a show. I suppose that was our aim when we started to work on putting this gig together, was try and give a real special show that everybody who comes along can join in with and hopefully go home happy.
And I've heard there's trapeze, there are clowns, you're all dressing up.
Yeah, there's a bit of everything really, but we can't give too much away. Actually, it's going out tonight, innit? So it's we're all right.
You're safe, you're safe.
Yeah, we're very safe. No, it's great entertainment for anybody that wants to come and see it, whether you like the music or not. I think you'll enjoy the show.
I think one of the key things for us is historically stadium, venues for gigs have been rock bands. And, we're a pop band, so we're trying to bring not only the music to it, but something visual, something that people can sit back and watch 2 hours of a big show, so...
We're trying to be a rock band though, aren't we?
Oh, we'd love to be.
We really want to be a rock band.
Oh, you're cooler than a rock band.
We've accepted it by now. Yeah.
And the last time we met, you were launching your Circus album. You're breaking records all over the place. I mean, that sold 1.8 million copies. The tour sold out in 4.5 hours, which I think, if I'm right, is more than Jackson's Bad tour. I mean, are you shocked at how unbelievably successful you've been?
Yeah, the whole story shocks us. I mean, it just seems to get better and better as well. Maybe it's all downhill after tonight.
Oh, downhill from here, innit? Yeah.
We'll enjoy the ride down. If it's been half as good as the way up, who cares? It has been incredible.
You can still come on London tonight.
Well, you know what the point is for us, we've actually enjoyed every single minute of it, and I think there's only 4 shows left for us now, so we've got to work a way out of just lapping it up every minute we're on there, just enjoying ourselves.
It's quite sad, really, because it is exciting to be playing Wembley Stadium, but as Gaz said, with it being the last 4 shows, it's kind of we're feeling that as well now.
And then what next? Surely there's going to be more. This isn't it, is it?
No,
We'll
definitely
see.
not it. No.
Holiday.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not it.
And another album?
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, once we've finished the tour, maybe next year we'll start writing. We're still excited by the whole creative process, so, if it means we can come back and do this again, definitely.
Everyone expected their comeback just to be a tour, a successful tour, and possibly that's it. But I think the fact that they produced 2 really good albums to date, maybe they'll get some more, and they're really good albums as well. And also that they were able to do it without Robbie Williams. That combined made people think, wow, they were able to do it. They sold massively, both their tours and their albums. They're really good songs on there. And you could tell that they sort of really had it together.
I think the jury's still out on whether Take That are a bigger band now than they were in the 90s. Their circus tour in 2009 proved they could do the big arenas again and sell them out. And I think most of those dates were sellouts across the country. They've only been back a couple of years. They've had 3 or 4 hit singles. So really, I don't think quite they're up to the standards they set in the 1990s as the boy band.
I think the bands are arguably bigger now than they were in the 90s. I mean, the Circus Live tour sold out in something like 4.5 hours. They sold 650,000 tickets. I mean, that's absolutely huge. It's become the biggest selling tour ever.
Well, probably around the waist, some of them are a little bit bigger. But I think the main thing there is that their fan base hasn't really changed. It's the young women that love them in the early 90s still love them now, but their daughters do as well. So they've kind of multiplied, literally.
Take That's phenomenal success after their comeback, I think, is down to a few reasons. Obviously, great music. It wouldn't have worked without great music. But what you kind of see is there's a lot of bands that were around in the 90s that are actually still going. And because they've carried on all that time, never taken a break, and never kind of come back with any emphasis, it hasn't really been the same. I think because Take That took literally 10 years off, whereas they may not have been seen as cool back in the mid-90s, people look back nostalgically differently and empathise, and their memories of things get better with time. And now we all kind of look back at the point in the 90s when Take That were massive, and we see parts of ourselves, our youth with them, and we can look back at them fondly now as part of our life, and we've all really watched them grow up in front of us, and I think that's one of the main reasons it's worked. You still see girls were 15 back then and now 30 years old, they've got their kids there at the concerts, and it gives people a chance to relive their youth as well. But on top of that, they've got amazing songs.
The comeback has been heralded as a huge success, and it has to be down to the fact that they're even more marketable now than they were before. They're the face of clothes labels, they've got awards coming out their ears, from Virgin Media Awards to Ivor Novello's, Brit Awards, #1 hits, best-selling UK tours. Really, it doesn't get much better than that. The second time round, these guys that are all pushing 30s, 40s have proved that you can come back, and as good guys, you can make it better second time round.
In a recent interview with Jonathan Ross, Robbie Williams strongly hinted that he would be working with the 4 present members of Take That in the near future. It would certainly be a huge event, and the ever-faithful fans would certainly love to see it become a reality. Who knows? Stranger things have already happened in the curious tale of Take That and Robbie Williams.